Disclaimer: the video does not intend to vilify or stereotype Kyrgyzstan and cannot be used for any discriminatory purposes. The video includes graphic references to gender-based violence topics, including domestic sexual violence, bride kidnapping.
So welcome to POC Stories. Today I'm welcoming Nurzhan, and she's part of the Bishkek Feminist Initiatives organization. So can you introduce yourself and organization?
Hello, thank you for having me. I'm Nurzhan. I'm a feminist activist based in Bishkek, Kyrgyzstan, and I'm representing Bishkek Feminist Initiatives. Bishkek Feminist Initiatives, it has been working for about 10 years in Bishkek and also in Kyrgyzstan overall. This initiative was built to strengthen feminist solidarity and also to empower girls and women in different roles. And also, as our, especially in Kyrgyzstan, the society is deeply patriarchal, to spread the ideas of feminism and women rights in a every possible way. It's in our hands.
And so what are the main issues you focus on?
So right now, the main issues, the first of all, is domestic violence and any types of violence toward women, like sexual violence, because it's widely spread in Kyrgyzstan. And the next is bride kidnapping, as though there are strong, comparatively strong legislation basis. Still, this crime exists. Also, now we focus more on education, girls and women, strengthening. For example, even during the pandemic, we provided some courses on coding for girls, debate clubs, and because we think and we believe that education is the main tool that can eliminate violence against women and consider that women are humans, and they should be treated with dignity.
Yeah. So what kind of difficulties do face regularly your organization? Is it financial, or is there any political pressure, or?
Yeah, in the recent years, everything depends on the political situations, most of all. First of all, it was now the civil society and also freedom of voice, now it's in danger in Kyrgyzstan. And also we suffered as a feminist organization because for example, last year during the annual women's march, the activists, the organizers, women, just the participants of the march, we were just detained in the police without just any explanation. And recent years we feel that from the government side and probably also other right-wing kind of organizations or groups, right-wing groups, they're radically against of the idea of women empowerment and spreading feminism in Kyrgyzstan. Yeah, and another thing probably that like we are as an organization, like I mean, even Kyrgyzstan as an independent country, we have been country for about like 20, 30 years, and there are now many organizations and like probably like groups who are in a solidarity with us. Yeah, and that's why probably for us like it's a bit difficult to work with different vulnerable groups, and also to build and to communicate with other civil society organizations, just who position themselves as a human rights or as like civil rights movements, as sometimes their points of view might be different from feminist point of view. Yeah, so this kind of struggles we face, but still uh, in a recent year there have been like other initiatives like Bishkek Feminist Initiatives, and we try to there is for example one in the south of the country, because we are based in the capital, right? And we try to collaborate, organize united projects, and also like participate in every discussions among the civil society that's um, in the topics of women's rights and like changes to legislation basis or tackling the stereotypes in violence against women.
Okay. So you can still be active and organizing uh, some events despite like the pandemic, or does the pandemic has changed like the way you organize yourselves?
Like as pandemic like officially and the lockdown started last year, yeah, exactly in March in Kyrgyzstan. So and country was shut completely. There were like restraining orders, and we couldn't just move, we couldn't go out. So yeah, and it was like quite difficult for us to continue our projects. We had projects of we had project that, for example, girls empowerment in rural areas, yeah, on, and we talked with them on their sexual and reproductive rights, and also like how to stand against violence and culture, and how to stand against the culture of violence. But then everything stopped, and we moved online. Like we continued providing our sessions, discussions and trainings online, but it was like, yeah, like it was really difficult for us. And we stopped, for example, working with our volunteers. Now again we're trying to renew all our work, and also the political situation was quite like not stable in Kyrgyzstan. The government has changed. There were elections in October, and government changed, and like the basics of like as a security, yeah, the basic human rights were, I don't know, like violated. And we as an organization, we also like were volunteering and helping, because there were organized like volunteers who protected the city, yeah, from like different radical protesters, because there were like different groups. So yeah, as we can say, like we couldn't actually, now we're again back to work, trying to focus, continue our projects, trying to run new projects. So yeah.
Yeah. But do you feel like you're kind of more free because you're in a big city than if you would be like, for example, in a small city as an organization?
Yeah, like yeah, the being like based in a capital gives us like more privileges, yeah, more opportunities, I can say, than based somewhere in a rural areas, because the values and people and the resources are different there. And like unfortunately people are like very for example in the rural areas, they're some of them might be, as they were informed, like different about the ideas for feminism and like women rights. So they might consider us as a somehow like radical organization and might not welcome as a group. But here we've got in Bishkek, like there are a lot of other organizations, we can collaborate with each other, but still, while working in the rural areas, we try to for example, send their like experts in this area, like send their people who speak the same language, who understand their needs. And also, like, we are the ones who in the organization, for example, myself, I'm not like born, I was not born in Bishkek, I'm also like from somewhere rural area. Yeah, but basically, yeah, it's a bit easier being in Bishkek than in other areas, I guess.
For example, regarding like domestic violence, right, kidnapping, like the women's issue, uh, because I've read like there are some laws that prevent and criminalize, for example, drug kidnapping and also sexual violences and physical violences against women. But still, when it comes to make apply the law, like to respect it and so on, it's still difficult. Like for example, I've read that domestic violence, many police agents will see that as a private issue and they will not intervene. Or is it true, or is it, or can you explain like the situation?
Yeah. So speaking of bride kidnapping and domestic violence, if you look from like legislation point of view, like legislation basis, so we've got one of the most developed legislation, like against domestic violence toward women in post-Soviet countries. Yeah, we've got like all the mechanisms, all, and also like restraining order for 3 days, and it can be extended up to 1 month. And there are also fines, and this person can be convicted to the jail. So from here, okay, the implementation of the law, yeah, the law itself is good, but implementation is like very bad, because not um, all the registered cases of domestic violence, they are brought to the courts. Yeah, police workers might not, for example, believe or say, yeah, this is the family's issue, as they are also the part of this patriarchal victim blaming and like the culture of violence, the system. Yeah. And in other cases, there were also reports that, for example, lawyers themselves might be interested in not continuing the cases because they're not interested at all. And the culture of shame when like women, they leave their houses. Yeah, like it's like how you can divorce your husband because you have to be married. Yeah, and married like woman, she's like respected more in our society than divorced. Being divorced is like something being ashamed of. And also because of this, like again, like collective um, collective action, I don't know, perpetrator side, the relatives, like his parents, everyone, they gather the money, they find the best lawyer, and they try to bribe all the police and judges. So here there is no, this cultural also shame of being a perpetrator. I mean, like here everyone knows the names of the victims, everyone, but no one knows the names of the perpetrators. It's not something to being a judge, it's like something normal. And also, speaking of bride kidnapping, it's like very similar case. We've got also like developed toughened legislation. Up to 10 years the person can be convicted to the jail. And also not only the person who kidnapped, but also his relatives and this religious representative, because we've got like some religious the religious representative comes and does this ritual, religious ritual uh, of this ceremony. So this person also can be charged, like everyone. But still, the percentage of bride kidnapping is high. It's very high, as it's by some communities considered as just a tradition. By others, it's something normal, and like women's place, I mean, again, it's about like values, and it's about this patriarchal society where it's considered that women's only place it's being at the home, and women's happiness is only being married, and like it doesn't matter how, right? Okay, like she was kidnapped and she had to be happy because someone wanted to marry her. So these are probably the causes of still of of us having this issue and this like crime as a bride kidnapping.
Okay. And so when it comes to bride kidnapping, is it something that is very widespread in Kyrgyzstan? Is it something that is more practiced in rural areas, or is it practiced in any areas and in any social classes?
So yeah, in the rural areas, it's like more spreaded because of the education level. There was the research that the higher educated the person, the less this person might kidnap someone. And also because in the rural areas probably people follow more like traditions. I can say that it's a tradition, but this is like how people used to live, yeah. And in rural areas it's like really difficult to change people's minds in like at once, and they're influenced by their neighbors, they're influenced by what others will say. This is more important than their personal happiness. And but even in the cities, if not very well spread, but still there are cases. For example, a few years ago, it happened in the city in Bishkek, like the capital. The young girl, she was kidnapped and brought, and police came and they were brought, both the kidnapper and the victim, to the police station, but she was killed by the kidnapper because police thought that okay, they could probably talk to each other, they could negotiate, and police allowed this kidnapper, and they left them in one room. So as you can see that even like police in the city, yeah, like should be like more educated and more like aware of this issue, of this crime, but still even they allowed this crime happened, yeah.
Okay. And is there like any other issue that women face in Kyrgyzstan?
Um, yeah, like like nowadays, it's very urgent as domestic violence, especially during the pandemic. The situation like worsened, and domestic violence increased up to like 60%, and these are only registered cases, and like government didn't make any mechanisms that could somehow prevent or could somehow help the victims of domestic violence, because like we were all in a lockdown, and there are like only there are crisis centers, like rehabilitation centers, that can help women to stay there. But these crisis centers, they couldn't like accept women because of this like COVID situation, and government failed to do some measures. And we also, like as a civil rights organizations, we really felt like being like powerless this times, because you can't move, you can't go anywhere, and there is only one tool that you can use. It's the internet and like spreading information and consulting like online. Yeah. Like another issue, I can say that it's very high rate of sexual violence, like toward girls, and like there are news and every other news that it's just like group violence, group rapings, and like we wondered like what are the causes, right? And probably the first causes is that absence of sexual reproductive education, reproductive rights and education in Kyrgyzstan. There are some laws that like forced government to set this education, but like in the schools we don't have such lessons. And another thing is like this, probably the culture of violence, and in the lack of communication between the generations. Yeah, like no one talks about like how girl and boy should set their relationship, what happens, like how to communicate, yeah, with each other. Like it's not discussed at all, and probably like teenagers and adults, they just um, gather the information from like internet, like I don't know, mainstream porn or like this information, and then they've got like different like not right values. Yeah. So also like culture of consent, there's no like consent here. So we understand, all we probably think that these factors like really influence. Yeah.
Okay. And so, do women are more outspoken regarding these issues? Because, for example, in France, it has been like very recently that women are being outspoken savagely regarding rape or regarding other forms of violence. And is it the case in Kyrgyzstan or not?
No. Yeah, it's like as I said, like we all know the victims, but we all know the victims. Like I know my friends or like sister or someone, but publicly victims cannot speak about their about what happened to them, because like even the victims of harassment, yeah, they can't speak out loud, no, because um, because of the culture of this victim blaming, that this was you, why you walked there, why you went there, why, if they invited you, why you said yes. So this is like all about victim blaming. And even when there was like this big campaign, Metoo, yeah, in Kyrgyzstan there were just probably like few posts, and then even when women posted, like they spoke about like being harassed or being raped. People who live in the cities, they were like, no, that there's no way that this is happening. This is also difficult. And also like our main, that's why like as we are organization Bishkek Feminist Initiative, first of all we try to build this solidarity of feminist solidarity. Like we women, we try to build this special like safe areas, yeah, where we come talk to each other, we show support, and we try to say like it's okay if you speak, we understand, and we can help you. Yeah.
And is there anything else you would like to add?
Yeah, it's like one thing that I wanted to add about also like harassment issue, because um, if speaking about domestic violence and kidnapping, we've got legislation basis. Speaking of harassment, we haven't got any legislation, any mechanisms that could prevent or that could somehow regulate this this at the workplace, at the like street harassment, like nothing. And there was few years ago, one of the women deputies, she was like harassed at the White House, and then she tweeted about it. And again, like there was like a lot of victim blaming, like probably that was your fault. We've got only 20 women in our parliament, yeah, 20 women, and then they united and they said like, okay, we want to make an amendment to the laws, so to change the situation, yeah. And but again, there was like not the big support from the civil society or from the society themselves, because probably society doesn't consider it as a big issue. I mean, the harassment. And now our also like one of the things that we have to tackle and we have to work on is to make to change this legislation. I mean, to make some additions to the legislation, and plus, and also like to have some mechanisms where victims of harassment can just go there and have support, and also like the harassers have to be somehow like convicted. And another thing is like work with the society, so society understands that harassment it's something like abnormal, and that should be like tackled and should be just eliminated.